Introducing the Champion's Mindset, the podcast that gives your inner game a serious upgrade. Join internationally renowned mindset and performance expert, Kathryn Orford.
Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Champions Mindset podcast. So sorry I wasn't here last week. I had a doozy of a migraine and I just wasn't up for it. So, this is what I was going to share last week. Whether or not you're an athlete, a sports coach, or perhaps the parent of an athlete, I keep on getting asked quite a few questions from you all. And one of them is specifically from parents. And the parents are saying, what can we do, Kathryn, to support our athlete, our teenager or our younger athlete? Because some of you are telling me that they are fantastic in training, and then when it comes to the game, they choke. Or they've been actually labeled as the next big thing and they are drowning under expectations. Coaches, on the other hand, are telling me that, Kathryn, I wish the parents would just let us do our job. So today is all about mindset tips for parents of athletes. But if you're a coach or perhaps you're the athlete yourself, please stay on because I think you'll really enjoy this episode. And if you do, you know what to do. Share it. If you're a coach, perhaps you might like to share this episode with your parents of your athletes. So let's get on with it, shall we? Okay, so whatever sport you or your child or teenager plays, the bottom line is it's the same. Everything to do with them being successful is not only developing their physical skills, it's what we've got up here between our ears. So if you have an athlete that plays any of these sports or perhaps one that's not in that picture, stay tuned because I've got some great tips for you. Okay, little bit about me if this is the first time you're seeing me. I have been coaching athletes and performers now for a long time, as you can see. This is a 2009 team that had never won a state championship, and they were coming fifth halfway through the season. The gentleman on your right is Brad Dalton, the taller gentleman. He is a former dual Olympian basketball player. So these girls have been playing together since they were 12. They had fabulous skills, but they did not have the belief or the confidence, and they thought they were bonded. But by the time I worked with them, from coming fifth halfway through the season, they won the state championship for the first time in extra time. I think this is another team of Brad's, former dual Olympian, his St. Augustine's varsity team. This is an interesting story, folks. So the year before, we were living in Hawaii. Brad reached out to me. He said, Kathryn, would you please work with my varsity team at St. Augustine's College? And he didn't know that I was living in Hawaii at the time and about to move back to Australia. And he said, they've made it to the nationals and I think they've got a good chance of winning. And I said, oh, Brad, I'm so sorry. When is the championships? I'm coming back to Australia, but I've been living in Hawaii. He told me the date. And the day that they were driving down to Canberra to the national championships, we were going to be on a plane flying back to Australia. So I just said to him, well, you kind of know what I do, Brad. Why don't you do your version of what I do? And they actually won the national championships, pardon me. So the next year, 3 of the members of that amazing team that had won the national championships, there was 2 Sudanese brothers, I believe, and a Sudanese cousin. They had gotten college scholarships over here in the US. So Brad reached out to me, said, Kathryn, my team are getting thrashed every week. They don't believe they can win without their stars because the stars are over here in the US, right? He said they've got good skills, don't have the depth in the team that I had last year, but they have good fundamental skills. Of course, they had good fundamental skills. They're being trained by a former dual Olympian. Okay. So I said to him, I want 3 2-hour sessions with them. And he said, you can have whatever you want, Kathryn. You can have whatever you want. I had the first session with them, 2-hour session, and they started winning. And I could go to all of their games and I was setting off all of their rituals at the games, which, by the way, I can do via Zoom. However, I was there for the games, and of course, they started winning every game. They got to the conference final, and I don't think the other coach of the opposing team had done their homework and realized how much we'd been winning by, because his team had thrashed our team twice during the normal games, right? During the normal, not the playoff, but during the season. So his team come out cocky as all get out. You could just tell by their body language, right? And they're thinking, oh, there's going to be a walkover. We're going to win this. Well, were they in for a shock? Our boys were 30 points ahead at the end of the first quarter and maintained it all the way through. So here they are. They won the conference final. They also won the second plaque, I think, is for the highest point score through the whole season. And I think there's a picture of me. Oh, no, there isn't a picture of me with them. Here's another beautiful group of full-time ballet students that I had the pleasure of working with at Tanya Pearson's Classical Coaching Academy in Sydney. They're all grown up now. This is years ago. In fact, a lot of them, Evan over there, the young man on the right, he went off to the Royal Ballet, and so did Emily to his left. And I think there's some pictures. Yes, here is Emily after having studied at the Royal Ballet, and there's Evan. Evan is now the principal of the Scottish Ballet. I had him as a 15-year-old, and he was worried that he was going to fall off his pirouettes, and he had a whole lot of things going on in his mind. He had fantastic skills, but he didn't have the mindset to go with it. So I'm so proud of what these beautiful former clients of mine are doing. This is actually a fabulous story. Beautiful Zale was playing on the basketball court next to my daughter, and I didn't see her fall. All I saw was her writhing on the ground. And the bottom line is she had broken her arm in 3 places. It was like a banana. She used to play the drums, and she was also a rep squad player, which means in Australia, when you get to rep squad, you've been chosen to be in there. It's not like club basketball here in the US. You are one of the chosen few. So my daughter was playing in I think the 12 and unders at the time. Zale, I think, was in the 14 or the 15 and over team. And I had the amazing pleasure of working with her. She was told by the doctor she would never play again. She wouldn't be playing the drums. She wouldn't be playing basketball. And as you can see, she listened to one of my CDs. Her mother was very clever. She had her playing it over and over in the night while she was sleeping, which of course goes straight into your unconscious mind. And of course, we had her back on the court within 3 months, I think it was. And the doctors, when they looked at her x-rays, went, Zale, we don't believe what we're seeing because your arm is stronger than before you broke it. What do we got? And here's a whole bevy of other beautiful people that I've worked with. Beautiful young Sarah was a dwarf swimmer. She was labeled as the next big thing for Olympic swimming, and she was drowning under expectations. She went to the Trans-Tasman Championships. She went in 8 events. She came home with 8 gold medals. This is a different event that she's in that picture with, but she got 8 gold medals. She did 6 PBs. We call them PBs in Australia, personal bests. And she shaved 6 seconds off her 200 meters individual medley. 6 seconds off her 200-meter individual medley is kind of unheard of, maybe 1,500. So her coach came to me and said, what are you doing? Would you come and work with my elite swim squad? Which I did. Then we've got beautiful Judith up there in the top. She's an opera singer that was not getting any gigs. She is now singing all the way through Europe and living her dream. Beautiful Rianne over there on the right. Again, I got to coach her back at Tanya Pearson's, and she went on to become professional. Lovely Carly down there, Diana Morales in Hairspray, was actually a former performing arts student of mine. I had her from 4 till 14, and then I coached her on her mindset, and she started landing all these musicals. And there's a dance school in the background there that I did a one-day workshop with. So I've been doing this stuff for quite a while. Going on for probably 19 years by now. And you know what? It doesn't matter what sport or what type of dance my clients are, because the same rules apply. Mindset governs everything. So what sort of parent are you if you're a parent? Do you sit quietly on the sidelines and just let your child or teenager do their thing? Or perhaps are you one of those parents that is kind of shouting instructions like, arms up, stay on your player, giving them all sorts of instructions, because really most of the coaches, in fact, all of them that talk to me go, "Oh, Kathryn, would you please talk to the parents and just ask them to trust us?" Because when you start giving lots of directions to your child or teenager, their energy is scattered. Most athletes want to be what we call in the zone or in flow state. And guess what? They cannot be in flow state if they're busy listening to you, listening to the coach, and listening to their teammates. Okay? So this next slide is all about your role as an athlete's parent. So there are the different lanes. Whatever sport or whatever dance you're doing, there's a coach or teacher. You're the parent. If you're playing something competitively, it's the referee, or perhaps if you're a dancer, it's a competition and there's a judge or an adjudicator. And then, of course, there's the other parents. Okay? So all the coaches always say to me, please get the parents to understand their lane, just to stay in their lane. We don't want them coaching the players. Why are they in our team if they don't trust me as a coach? Now, this has been cruel to be kind, because I know some of you probably have children or teenagers that play a sport that you're also pretty damn good at, and you think you know it all, and you probably do. But guess what? It's not serving your athlete, because, as I said, their energy is scattered. They don't know who to listen to. So please, next time your athlete is performing or competing, just take a big deep breath and go, you know what? It's all in their hands now. I'm handing it over to their coach or their teacher or their teammates. And honestly, it's not getting involved with what the other parents are saying. If one parent is jealous because your kid gets to be opening 5 all of the time, just stay out of the politics. Just turn up to support your child or teenager. So your role as a parent is to create the optimal environment for your athlete to shine. And that means a whole lot of things. It means, what state are you in, which we're going to get to in a moment, because it's going to seep down to them. And your other role is to provide opportunities for them so that they can, A, grow skills and also develop their mindset. There's no point, folks, in spending all these time, money, and energy on aside from learning their skill. Lots of them have strength coaches. Other people are going to the gym all of the time and working out. It's like, what about their mindset? As Michael Jordan says, 90% of his success he puts down to what was between his ears, his mindset. So your role is twofold. Create the optimal environment for your athlete to feel safe, to feel supported, to feel like you believe in them, and that you're providing them all the opportunities in the world for them to be the best that they can personally be, whatever that might be. Okay. A lot of parents fall into this mistake. They put all the pressure on their athlete, and it's all about winning. If you do that, have you ever found that when you start to want to have a chat to your athlete on the way home from a game or a competition, and they didn't necessarily win, and you don't know what to say, and they're shut down and they go to their room, it's because all they think you care about is winning. Really, your job is to actually focus on the effort that they put in. So if they defended, for example, in basketball better than they've ever defended, if they're a dancer and they did the most stunning pirouettes or whatever it is, just focus on the things that they did well, and more importantly, not so much the things that they did well, but the things that you noticed about them that had nothing to do with anyone other than them. Because when we put all of our focus on externals, we don't have control of that, okay? We don't have control of the ref or the adjudicator or the judge. We don't have control of the other teammates. We don't have control of our coach if we're a parent and our young person is playing. Think about the effort. If you can actually really acknowledge them and go, you know what? I saw that you were really awesomely supporting your teammates when you were sitting on the bench today. That was so good. I saw that you were really organized before we got to the game today, so that you stayed really calm and I stayed really calm, and we knew that we hadn't left anything behind. Focus on the behaviors that they're doing versus the results that they are getting. Does this make sense? Because then they're going to build confidence and self-esteem, and your communication levels are going to stay open. Whereas if they didn't win and they know that you're bummed that they didn't win, guess what? They're going to shut down. They're not going to talk about it to you. So focus on the effort and the behaviors that they're doing that you've noticed that serve them. Okay, monkey see, monkey do. You need to be modeling the mindset that you want to see. I have seen time and time again parents saying, "Oh, my child doesn't believe in themselves." I'm actually an expert in self-esteem, self-worth, self-belief, self-confidence. That's what my book behind me is, Become Your Number One Fan: How to Silence Your Inner Critic and Live the Life of Your Dreams. I can read people's faces. I can see by looking at you in the face whether or not you are really hard on yourself, whether you have an inner critic of your own that really beats yourself up. How can you expect the athlete in your family to actually have a great mindset if you don't? Think about that one, huh? Your words have got power, especially before, during, or after a game. This is what I was talking about before. Focus on the internal factors that they have control over versus the external factors, okay? You don't want to be getting in the car and going home. For example, I'm just talking basketball because I do coach a lot of basketball teams and players and coaches. But it really applies to anything. Going home from the game or the competition and going, "Oh my God, the ref was so bad. All those calls were so bad." Or, "Oh my goodness," is one parent years ago when I first opened my first dance school, I really wanted. Have you ever had a moment where you just wish that the earth would open up and swallow you up because you're just so embarrassed you want to get out of there? We were at a Stedford, which is just a Welsh name for competition, and my kids didn't win, and one of the fathers at the top of his voice called out, "The adjudicator or the judge needs a pair of binoculars." And it was like, oh my goodness. So please don't start bagging the ref or bagging the adjudicator or the judge or whatever, because guess what? You or your child or teenager can't control any of that. Focus on the internal factors. Okay. Focus on, "I'm so proud of you. You got your kit bag all organized this morning before the game. There was no stress." Or, "I really love the way that you were cheering your teammates on." Or, "I could see that you were really determined. Even though you missed your free throw, it didn't actually sway you. You stayed really focused." They're the things that they have control of. You're getting this versus the external factors. And what you say is what they're going to repeat over and over and over. So if you say something negative, either about them, their teammates, their ref, their coach, whatever, they're going to keep repeating it. There's research that says when a little tiny child has been criticized, when the parent leaves the room, that child will repeat whatever that was 100 times. And that's where their inner critic comes in. So be really, really, really discerning about the words that you use, because they're going to go straight into their mind and they're going to keep repeating it. I mean, that's how we learn to walk. That's how we learn to talk. We learn to repeat things. Okay, please leave it up to the coach to give feedback and instructions. Stay in your lane. Okay, definitely focus on what they did well, but not on anyone else and not on the coach. Leave it up to the coach to say, "You know what? I noticed that you weren't defending as well today and you need to do blah, 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 blah." Stop it. Stop it. The coach is there to coach your teenager or young athlete. Okay? It's their job. That's what you're paying them for. Okay, moving on. Children learn more from what's caught versus what's taught. What do I mean by that? Well, you need to embody the qualities that you want to see in them. We were talking about this a moment ago, okay? how do you deal with challenges and mistakes? How do you deal with when things don't go according to plan? Because however you deal with it, guess what? They're learning it without you saying a word. They're just taking it all in. And how do you speak about your friends, your boss, your workmates, etc.? Because again, everything you're saying, children and teenagers are like sponges. We absorb as young people the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. So be mindful about how you speak, especially if you have young girls and you are worried about losing weight or whatever it might be. I made this mistake with my daughter, and my daughter pulled me up. She said, "Mum, you've got a fantastic hourglass shape. Stop it." And that was exactly what I needed to hear. Okay. But most young people don't have the confidence to speak to their parents that way. So just know that how you speak about even yourself, your friends, your boss, your workmates, whatever, it's all trickling down into how they're going to act in the world. Moving on. Equip them with the skills that they need. Okay? They need confidence. Now, no one's born with confidence. Confidence is a learnt skill. Think about it. Yeah? And we're not confident in every area of our life. I'm really confident at getting up on stages and speaking in front of thousands of people, coaching, any imaginable individual client or team or whatever. I'm confident at a lot of things. Am I confident at creating code for a computer? Gosh, no. Am I confident at, bottom line mathematics and percentages and things? No, it's not. It's not my strength. Okay. Confidence is a learnt skill, and it comes from being competent at something, and it comes from a whole lot of other things as well that I'm going to speak about in a moment or speak into. So confidence keeps from keeping your agreements, believing in yourself, and feeling comfortable in your skin. So if you want a confident young athlete, guess who's got to be confident to start with? How can you expect your child or teenager to be confident if you're not? Okay? And if you're not, that's okay. No one's born confident. You can learn it. Buy my book, buy someone else's book. I don't mind who it is, but just start developing your confidence. Okay? Because then they'll become more confident. I talked about this. Brendan Burchard talks about this. It's called the confidence-competence loop. So the more competent we become at a skill, right? Your young athlete is learning to dribble the ball or whatever. The more competent they become, they're going to show up to training feeling more confident, right? And so it's become competent at a skill. Now, this might be you becoming competent at keeping your mouth shut and just turning up at the games. Then the more confident you're going to become at the fact that you can do that. Okay, we can break habits just like that. We've just got to be aware of what the habit is that isn't serving us. But that's a whole other podcast. Just know that your child is not going to become confident until they feel competent at a skill or at their whole craft. Okay. This is what trips up a lot of young players and older ones for that matter. In fact, probably even more so with teenagers and especially with social media these days. They start playing what I call the compare and despair game. Okay? They're comparing themselves. This poor little girl over there on the right, she's going, "Oh my goodness, I played really badly. The coach hardly put me on today." And the other one's going, "Yes, I got all my free throws. I got I defended really well," whatever. If you know, that you play the compare and despair game, guess who's going to copy that? Your child or teenager. Stop playing compare and despair and start playing compare and dare. Compare and dare to be the best version of you that you can be and encourage your athlete to become the best version they can be. Sure, they can aspire to being somebody in their team that they think is the star and go, okay, ask that person, how did you get so good? Don't be jealous, just aspire. Okay? These are the skills as parents we need to teach our young people to do. Stop playing compare and despair and start playing compare and dare. What your young athlete has between their ears, and you for that matter, is like prime real estate. Let's bring it back to you for a moment. If you owned this multi-million-dollar property and it had the yacht out the front and the helicopter pad and the whole 9 yards, do you think you could rent it out for $50 a week? Of course not. But that's exactly what you're doing and probably what your young athlete is doing when you are allowing negative thoughts and beliefs to reside up here. This between your ears is so powerful beyond your wildest imagination. But who are you renting it out to at the moment? And who are they renting it out to at the moment? Their brain believes what they tell it. Now, a lot of what they tell it comes back to you. What have you been telling them about themselves, about their ability, but more so about their qualities? Okay, abilities can be learnt. It's their innate qualities that you need to be really recognizing. You have such a kind heart, or you are such a hard worker. You're out there practicing before training, after training. Notice what it is about them. And whatever you believe in them, they are going to start believing themselves. Otherwise, they're going to believe the exact opposite. So, what stories are they telling themselves? And as you can see, the chains in this picture, do they need to break free? What story have they got going on? Coach never chooses me for the opening 5. I'll never be opening 5. I've heard parents tell me this. I've heard athletes tell me this. Coach doesn't like me. Here's the thing. When a coach is giving you feedback, it's because they do believe in you. And you need to actually make sure that your athlete in your family understands this. If they didn't believe in them, they wouldn't be giving them feedback to get better. So what stories is your young player or young dancer or performer telling themselves about their ability? Because can you see up there, there's some rubbers? Yeah. So you can actually really start telling yourself a brand new story. Rub out whatever it is that you are telling yourself about your ability to be an amazing parent, and encourage your child or your teenager to start rubbing out whatever those stories are that are stopping them from being as brilliant as they can be, and really start telling yourself, or have them start telling themselves, a brand new story. What do they aspire to being like? Breathe life into that. So I'm going to give you some tools to go in your toolkit. Usually this podcast is half an hour, but because there's so much I want to give you, it's going to go a little longer. So I hope that's okay. If for any reason you've got to hop off, that's okay. You can always watch the replay. It'll be on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, on LinkedIn, and on, I don't think it'll be on Facebook, but it'll be on LinkedIn and YouTube. So let's give you some tools to put in your toolkit as the parent of an athlete. Rituals. Rituals create resilient athletes. What do I mean by that? If your athlete has specific things that they do each time they are about to prepare for a game, if they've got rituals, for example, after a game, even if they lost, if they didn't get a place in a competition, whatever, what rituals do they have in place to actually focus on the positives and go, right, what's 3 things I did really, really well, and what's 1 thing I can improve on? These are what I call rituals. They're things that you do habitually every day, before training, during training, after training, before a game, after a game, before a competition, after a competition. What rituals does a young athlete in your family, or if you're a coach, what rituals do you have to actually set them up for being the best that they can be? Rituals can change the whole game. Okay, here's some things that can stop negative things happening. These are some of the things that I find happening, certainly with basketball players. Okay. Oh, this is going to work with any sort of sport or anyone that's competing in anything at all. When we get nervous, all of our energy comes up here. the shoulders come up, the neck gets tighter. We shallow breathe up here. Okay. And our amygdala, which is the back of our head back here, is our fight or flight. And that kicks in and that everything goes to pieces. Okay. So before they start to compete or play or whatever it is that they're doing, the young person in your life, here's what they need to do. And guess what? It would be really great if you did this with them, because guess what? The more you create this as a ritual, the more they're going to do it. So it's to breathe in for 4 counts, right down to your belly. When people are learning this for the first time, I usually say, put your hands on your belly and breathe in. Hold it for 4. And then, as if you're blowing out of a straw, so it's breathe in for 4. I like to either do what she's doing. Actually, I prefer going this way. Downwards, so that you're breathing right down to your belly. Hold for 4 and then breathe out. Now, if you do that 8 times, 7 or 8 times, and they do that before competitions, they are going to become calm and grounded. It's going to take them out of their amygdala. They're going to feel absolutely grounded, calm, and ready to go versus, oh my goodness, because nervous energy, by the way, at the end, I'm going to share something. And if you click on that link, or it's a QR code, I think, you can take out your phones and click on it, or not click on it, scan it, and it's going to take you to being able to download. I can't remember whether it's my book, or I think it might be Transform Nervous Energy into Performance Energy video, which is really a powerful video. The other one is Mental Performance Mastery for Basketball Success. Guess what? It's for any type of success. So that's a ritual that I was talking about. Now, let's talk about some things that we can stop. The inner critic. I do not have time on this podcast, but if I have the opportunity to work with the athlete in your family, guess what? I'm going to turn their inner critic into their own personal cheer squad. It's actually quite simple, but it takes practice. Okay? But what have they got to lose? What have you got to lose, for that matter? Just that nasty voice inside their head or inside your head, telling them that they're not good enough, not clever enough, not fast enough, not experienced enough, whatever. Okay? Imagine what they'll be able to achieve when that voice is cheering them on, saying, you've got this. I believe in you. You're amazing. It's a game changer, believe me. And by the way, if you do happen to buy my book, my inner critic was chastising me and telling me I was so pathetic I couldn't even organize my own suicide properly. That was over 35 years ago, and I have made it my mission in life to teach people. I didn't know anyone else had an inner critic. I thought I was the only one, because we didn't talk about inner critics back then. So if you are interested, at the end, I'll show you where you can actually sign up and have your young athlete. If they're a teenager, this is for teenagers. It's an online program, but I'll show you that at the end, and they can learn all these amazing skills that I teach when I am either working one-on-one or with a team. So just know that their inner critic is probably a mirror of everything that you've ever said about yourself and about them. So this is a great one. So are you their inner critic's backup singer? Just take a few breaths and think, have I been giving them feedback that is just feeding more into that inner critic? The 5-second rule. Never allow negative self-talk or a negative belief or a behavior, for that matter, to reside in their mind or your mind. Remember, this is all for you as well, for more than 5 seconds. How many seconds? 5 seconds before you interrupt that supper and replace it with a positive. Now, this is something that I'll be teaching them, or you can learn in my book. Okay, what I found was a really simple thing to shut that inner critic up when it's going, oh my God, I'm going to miss my free throw. Oh my goodness, what if I miss my free throw? What if all that nasty inner talk? What if I fall on my pirouette? What if I don't land that goal? What if I, whatever sport that you play, is just to say to that inner critic, zip it. It's really simple. It's like within 5 seconds of it piling up, you just tell it. You just say, zip it, or out of there. But zip it's a really quick one. The other one I noticed when I was working with that beautiful team that I showed you that won the state championship for the first time, I noticed when I was watching them in training before I started working with them that if they missed their free throw or if they missed the basket or they turned over the ball, even though they were on the court, they weren't really on the court because they were busy beating themselves up in their head. Oh my God, coach is probably going to take me off. Oh my God, how could I do that? Oh, I get that in practice all the time. Okay. So I taught them to call out to each other, flush it. It's like flushing it down the toilet. It's just two quick words for them to realize to support their teammates as well. Flush it. Just get rid of it so that they can be 100% present on the court. And that was a game changer, just doing that one thing. Neurons that fire together wire together. So every time the inner critic does pipe up and you interrupt it in 5 seconds, guess what? That muscle, if you have a look at these neurons, there's the thicker ones. Now, the thicker ones are the ones that have had lots of practice. Just like going to the gym and lifting weights, that muscle's going to get stronger and thicker. Okay? The more that you interrupt an inner critic or you start doing a new behavior or a new ritual, these little tiny dendrites start to form. And every time the inner critic pipes up, say this is the inner critic over here, and then you replace it with a positive, or you say, flush it out of here, or that's not true, I'm a great player. Those neurons that fire together start to wire together. Okay? And then the brain does this thing called pruning. Just like pruning a bush or a tree or a flower or whatever, at different stages in our life, our brain will prune the things that we don't need anymore. So, for example, once we learnt to walk, we didn't need that because we already know how to do that. Once we learnt to talk, it didn't need it. And what it does is actually snips it off. So that nasty voice that I used to have in my head telling me I was so pathetic, I couldn't organize my own suicide properly, it's gone. It's literally gone. And the great thing is, because I've been so consistent with saying, out of here, I don't need you anymore, and using a whole lot of different tools that I would teach your young athlete to do, I've been doing that for so long that even if a negative thought does pop in my mind, which of course I'm going to have them from time to time, but it's really interesting. My unconscious mind knows what to do. I don't have to do a thing. It literally pipes up and goes, that's not true. You're a great coach, you're a great speaker, you're, whatever it is, it negates it for me. So this is really exciting stuff that you can be teaching not only your player, but yourself. What boxes are they stuck in? For that matter, you can change all this back to you. What boxes are you stuck in? Even if you're a coach, what boxes are you in? Because society's great at putting us in boxes, folks. Boxes and labels, okay? Now, a label for what we do in the world, that's useful. If I wanted to have heart surgery, I wouldn't go to the car mechanic down the road, right? So it's good to know those sorts of things. But so often we are being labeled things. You're silly, you're naughty, you're no good at sport, you're this. And even the positive boxes put a lot of pressure on us or our children to live up to them. And some people can cope without young people, and some people really flounder, which is what was happening with Sarah that I coached years ago. Okay, let's move on. Oh, here's what I got told. This is really interesting. At 16, I took my first ballet class. At 13, I did jazz and tap. One class became 3, became 6. And then at 16, I decided I wanted to be a professional dancer. Now, I knew I needed ballet because ballet was the trunk of the tree. So I go off to a really, big city ballet class. And this is what I got told. Too old, too tall, flat feet, not enough turnout in my hip sockets, forget it. Now, my dad was an former Australian cycling champion. I get home after sobbing all the way home with mum. And he says, oh, darling, you just haven't found the right school yet. Okay? Because he didn't have the meaning of give up in his vocabulary. You don't get to that level with give up. Okay? So I bravely ring another school. I go out 3 or 4 times. I got told the same thing. I gave up on my dream. Thankfully, my dream didn't give up on me. I followed the first love of my life to London. That didn't work. I found a school that believed in me. Now, I did casual classes, and then Una Billings, it was Una Billings TV School of Dance in Hammersmith, and Una pulled me aside one day and she said, you should try out for full time. Guess what I said back to her? Because so many people had told me, adults that I thought knew what they were talking about, right? And I said, oh no, Una, I'm too old, I'm too tall, I've got flat feet, I haven't got enough turnout in my hip socket. She said, darling, you've got the body, you've got the musicality, you've got the stage presence, you've got the lyrical quality, you've got the style. All we've got to do is work on your ballet. She organized private lessons for me with Fernand Monet. Fernand was a ballet master for the Royal Ballet when they went on tour, and guess who got to have private lessons? 6 months later, I turned professional. So if your child has been told they'll never make it, if they have the desire and they do have the basic structure that's going to work, because let's face it, physical structure is an important aspect. Although if you listen to one of my episodes a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of interviewing Mike Hollis, who is an NFL legend who was only 5'9". And Mike was told he would never make it as an NFL player. One year, I can't remember, I think it was 2018 or 19, he ended up being the highest scoring kicker in the whole of the NFL and the most accurate kicker in the whole of the NFL for the whole season. Okay. So if your child has got basically all of the fundamentals, but has not got the belief or has been told they'll never make it, don't listen to that. Encourage them. Encourage them to develop whatever it is that they are lacking. I was lacking ballet. Once I got my ballet behind me, the world was my oyster. Literally, I've performed all over Europe. I've had really successful dance schools, and I would never have done that had it not been for beautiful Una Billings, may she rest in peace. Ooh, getting all emotional, who really believed in me. Your child or teenager actually needs someone other than you to believe in them. Okay? Because when our parents tell us something, we're, oh yeah, that's mum or dad. Okay? Find someone that believes in your child or teenager that will encourage them. If you ask anyone that's been really successful in sport or in life, they had somebody that was their cheer squad other than you. So this is really important. Everything starts with the meaning we give something. Okay? That meaning causes an emotion. That emotion causes a behavior, and that behavior will produce a result. So if you want to get a different result, you've got to come back here and actually create a different meaning for something. Okay? The guy that broke my heart all those years ago, in actual fact, my biggest nightmare was my biggest gift in disguise. Did it feel like it at the time? Of course not. But I know that I would not be the woman I was meant to be, that I was destined to be, and that I have become, had that not happened. So the meaning I gave it is it was a gift. It was just a gift in disguise. So think about the meaning that you or the young athlete in your life is giving to anything really, the meaning of their game, the meaning of whatever it might be. Only you can answer that. But really get back to giving something a different meaning. It's going to change the whole game. Stop using this word. Parents are so good at using this word, and this is something I really invite you to stop. Don't picture a pink elephant, and don't look down and see that it has silver tap shoes on. And don't look and see that it has purple and white polka dots on its pink body. Don't see that. Don't see it. Don't see it. And don't see that it has a big yellow daisy. And don't see a big purple Cirque du Soleil hat. Don't see it. Don't see it. Don't see it. What happened? What happened? Did you see this? Or a version of this? I bet you did. Here's the thing. When we say don't, within 100th of a second, our brain has to rehearse what it is. And in that 100th of a second, often that's what happens. So, for example, if you say, don't forget your kit bag, or don't forget to pack water, or don't forget your snacks, guess what you're actually telling your child or teenager? To forget them, okay? Because that's how the brain works. So instead of saying don't, we call it directionalizing our thinking. Oh, that's the other one, but. Oh my goodness. Have you ever said yourself or had said to you by somebody, no offense, but whatever? The bottom line is if someone says, no offense, but blah, 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 guess what? Whatever they're going to say is offensive. Okay? You played well today, but you didn't really guard your player that well. What do you think your child or teenager is going to hear? They're going to discount you played really well today. All they're going to hear is, oh, I didn't guard my player well enough for mum or dad. Okay? Be really careful what you're telling your child or teenager. It is making a huge difference to their ability. So directionalize your language. We call it directionalizing your language in NLP. What is it you do want them to do? Remember to pack your snacks. Remember to have your kit bag packed the night before. Whatever it is, tell them what you do want them to do versus what you don't want them to do. Is this making sense? I hope so. Okay. They need to know that they're loved. That's the most important thing. Not based on the results they're getting, not whether they win or lose, not based on whether they're opening 5 or you think the coach likes them or not. The bottom line is we need to feel loved by our parents no matter what, whether we stuff up, whether we're human. We're going to make mistakes. So your job as a parent is to make sure that your child or teenager feels loved. Oh, now I would love your feedback. If you actually scan this QR code, it will take you to Talkadot, which is actually more of a speaker's page, but it works really well in that I can upload things in there and you will get a free resource. Pardon me, menopause is an interesting thing. It's either how to transform nervous energy into performance energy, which I think it is, or it might be my mental performance mastery for basketball success. And that has my whole 5-part strategy in it, by the way, of how I work when I work with an individual athlete or a team. So you can enter this particular code, podcast. It'll ask you a few questions. It'll ask you things like, did you find this presentation useful? Was it engaging? Was it whatever? And just tell the truth. Just say whatever you feel. And I know that for some of you, some of the things that I have said have been a little confronting. But I'm saying it from my heart because I genuinely care about you and the athlete in your life. Okay? Our parents really, really, they're the foundation of who we become in the world. And I want to support as many people on this planet to turn that inner critic into a cheer squad, to believe in themselves, to break free of the boxes and labels that society or yourself or maybe themselves have put themselves in. Okay, I know that that's why I'm on the planet today. So I really implore you to go to there, get out your phone, scan this QR code, answer a few questions, and then you'll get to download a free resource. And then I think that is probably about it. Let's see. Yep, that is about it. So I hope you found this useful. I'm not sure who I'm going to be interviewing next week, but I will have a guest person that I'm interviewing that will talk all about mindset in whatever area they're in. It might be business, it might be athletics, it might be dance, who knows? I'll get that all lined up. I'll be here at the same time next week, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I hope you found it useful. Thank you for spending time with me on this Sunday afternoon or evening. And if you did find it useful, if you're a coach and you know that parents in your team could benefit from this, please share it with them. You'll find it on Kathryn Orford, The Champion's Mindset on YouTube. You'll also find it on my LinkedIn page as well. So thank you again for sharing this time with me. And I hope to see you next week at the same time. Same time, same place. Ciao for now.
Thanks for watching The Champion's Mindset with Kathryn Orford. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week.